So recently I went to Day Out with Thomas at the Buckinghamshire Railway Centre, and while I was there I bought these two exclusive wooden Day Out with Thomases, and today I thought it would be a good idea to compare them to see which one was better. So here we have the 2019 Thomas Wood one, and here is the 2023 Wooden Railway version. The reason I got these two is because for whatever reason, they didn't have the 2025 wooden or motorised version, which is just really weird. So, good job Mattel for supplying the right toys to your events. But yeah, so we'll start off with the Thomas Wood version. And I think a lot of people would expect for this one to be the worst one, although I don't actually think this one is all that bad. So obviously it's Thomas Wood, so it isn't perfect. He doesn't have the dome, obviously. The splasher is very blocky. It's just a square, and he's quite squished up. So yeah, it's not the worst thing ever. There is things like buffer details, and it is a fully painted version, which is good, because if this was an unpainted one then I wouldn't have bought it. But yeah, so it's not too bad. It does have the old style wheels, which I like, but we'll have a more in-depth look in a minute. But first we have to get out the 2023 one, and right off the bat you can see there are a lot of differences. Although this one, unlike the wood one, does come with a pamphlet, although I must have taken out the box actually. Or maybe it didn't come with a pamphlet. That's weird. But anyway, let's move the boxes into the background and let's take a look at the two Thomases. So yeah, these are both very different, as you can immediately tell. So let's start off with the positives, I guess. So we'll look at the 2023 one first. So he's got a pretty good face. I prefer this over the standard face, because this one actually has sort of a big open smile instead of that smirk that the other one has. He's got the plastic coal, which is good. It's got the Day Out with Thomas logo on the roof, and it has loads of paint splats, lots of detail, and there's some paint on the wheels, which looks good. There's purple, yellow and green, and that's the same on the other side. Interestingly, there's this sort of, I guess, rainbow pattern around the number one. But yeah, there's loads of paint splats everywhere. It's pretty simple. I guess the theme is just paint, I guess. Now let's have a look at this one. So on the side he's got the Day Out with Thomas logo. There is, I guess, a passport maybe. A letter there, I guess. There's a ticket on the boiler, and I guess that's a compass and an arrow. And there's another compass. So yeah, there's not really much of a theme with this one. It's kind of just stuff that's been slapped on the side. But yeah, so there's not really as much as a theme with this one, I guess. I guess the theme might be like traveling or something. But I think this one kind of makes a bit more sense, because it's like Thomas has been covered in paint. Oh no, poor Thomas. Whereas this one, it's just that they put tickets on him. So yeah, let's have a look at the negatives then. And the main problem I have with this one is you've got the paint splatters, but then there's just this pattern around the number one, and it's a bit random. I would have preferred it if it was just loads of paint splatters, because then it would be like in Calling All Engines when he's covered in paint. And I think it would have made more sense, as in, like, why does Thomas have loads of patterns around the number one? It's just a little bit random. And my other complaint with this is the printing. I think I've mentioned this in a few other videos talking about these 2022 ones, but the quality of the printing is just really bad. Mattel need to use different printers because just look at how grainy and pixelated it is. And then here's this one. Look at how crisp the DOWT with Thomas logo is there. And then look at this one. The 2019 one is so much more crisp. Just look at the word with there. That is very clear. And then the with on this one is barely even legible. It's so grainy. But yeah, so I'm not a big fan of the way they do the printing on these. And also most of the newer Thomas merchandise, like the new 80th anniversary motorized ones, because the printing on those is also not very good. Although, actually, something I really like about this, and I didn't mention earlier, is that the way they did the paint going underneath the tanks looks really good. But yeah, so the printing on this one isn't too great. Also, he does have the 2022 wheels, which I'm not a big fan of, and I don't think most people like all that much. But yeah, other than that, he's pretty basic. And then we've got this one, which does have really nice printing, although I don't think the decorations on him make very much sense. I mean, this one's obviously he's been splattered by paint, but this one is just he's covered in random stuff. So I'm not sure what the idea was here. I mean, I guess it's themed around going places or something, because you've got the compass and the passport and the ticket and stuff, but I don't know, I think they could have done this better. I mean, I don't know, it kind of just feels like they slapped some details on the side and called it a day. But yeah, it is very well painted, actually. He does have a standard face, whereas this one has paint on it and it's got a different expression. I believe they use this face in a few sets, so it isn't completely unique to this one, although it is unique to the regular release of him. But yeah, with the rest of the Thomas Wood ones, his face is slightly smaller than the smoke box, which is interesting. I'm not too sure why they did that. Maybe it was just to save on plastic or something. Although, I mean, it's a really small amount of plastic. But yeah, so I'm not too sure what the thought behind this was. It's a bit random, although the printing is really nice. And actually, I like the way the name is sort of carved into the bottom. That looks really nice. But yeah, so this one is a bit weird. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not that good either. But yeah, just before I move on to some comparisons, let's quickly take a look at the packaging. So we'll start off by looking at the Thomas Wood packaging. So it's just the regular Thomas Wood packaging that I don't think anyone likes because it doesn't look very good. You've got this weird green background with hills and trees that look really weird. And then you've got Thomas's name on the side in a generic white font. And then on the back, this is actually something that I really like. It gives you a bit of a description of what the Thomas is. So it says, meet the #1 blue engine. Thomas is everyone's best friend. He prides himself on being a really useful engine. Wherever you go, you can take Thomas on any adventure imaginable. And there's a picture of him there. So that's actually pretty cool that the Thomas Wood version has a description on the back. So here is the Wooden Railway one, and you can see the DOWT with Thomas logo up there. This actually, I think they changed the logo a bit because, yeah, if you look there, it's got sort of a gold outline around it, and the width has got gold around it, but they've actually changed it. Yeah, I much prefer the old one. It looks a lot nicer. This one is just way too basic. But yeah, so you've got the DOWT with Thomas logo, the Thomas and Friends logo above it, and then you've got Thomas written on the side. I think I've said this in multiple other videos before, that I'm not a big fan of how generic this packaging looks. I think it would be better if the name was up here instead of on the side, and if instead of a white background, it was maybe a blue background or something. I think that would have looked nicer. And then on the back, do we get a description? No, we do not. We just get loads of random stuff that no one cares about. But yeah, I think this might have had a pamphlet, but I might have put it somewhere. I'm not too sure. Because I think most of them come with pamphlets. But yeah, so let's quickly do some comparisons then. Here is the regular 2022 Thomas. And I don't actually have a regular Wood Thomas. This is actually my only Thomas Wood item in my entire collection. So yeah, but here is the original Wooden Railway Thomas, or the 2000s Wooden Railway Thomas. But yeah, so you can see that this one is pretty much just a repaint of this one. And here they both are next to the classic one. I guess you can call it classic. And something I've noticed, actually, I'm not sure if anyone else has ever talked about this or noticed this, but with all these newer ones, there's a very obvious seam line on the smoke box. But with the old one, there are no seam lines. It looks a lot higher quality when there's no seam lines. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. And for one last comparison, here is the Drayton Manor Thomasland exclusive Thomas. And I think this is a good example of making a themed Thomas for a place. And I think they should have done something like this for the Doubt with Thomas event, because you've got Welcome to Thomasland on the side and some banners, and it does come with a truck. I think it's like a carousel, like carousel car or something like that. But yeah, I think it would be better if they did something like this, because if you look at this and also this one, they've just sort of put some stuff all over it. But this one, it makes a lot more sense. If you put this Thomas into a scenario, right? This is pretty much Thomas going to the grand opening of Thomasland or something like that, which makes sense. But if you put this one into a scenario, it doesn't really make sense. Like, why has Thomas got stuff all over him? And this one, why is he covered in paint? What's that got to do with Doubt with Thomas? So yeah, I think it would have just been better if they added a banner and some decorations and stuff. That maybe would have made a bit more sense. Although obviously these are more of just a novelty, really, that you can go to Doubt with Thomas and get an exclusive train, basically. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about these. I think the winner is probably this one. I would say that I prefer the 2023 one. I think, although it doesn't make a lot of sense, the paint splattered design is a bit nicer and it does make more sense than that one. Although this one, I don't think it's that bad. For a Thomas Wood item, it's definitely pretty good. And things like the printing are very nice, although I think this one does beat it overall. But yeah, thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.